In this video, I'm going to show you how to add in some really basic personalization. So I'm going to add in some eyes, some teeth, possibly a tongue, and if we have time, maybe some little spikes going down the back. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some eyes in this little guy. Now this is one of two ways that I would recommend. The easiest way is to go ahead and just model the eyes and just put them right in here, and don't change anything on the dinosaur model. The second and more advanced way is to go ahead and actually add more geometry to the body of the dinosaur, model some eye sockets, and then place the eyeballs inside the eye sockets, which of course is more accurate, will look nicer, but is really for the modeler that is ready to go to the next level and the next step. So, alright, here we go. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bring in the eyes up here away from the dinosaur, and it's going to be a separate mesh. So make sure that you are in object mode on the dinosaur, and I'm going to deselect the dinosaur. I'm going to do Shift A, I'm going to add in a mesh, and this is going to be a UV sphere. The UV sphere comes in, and a little tip here is in my perspective view, I'm going to press T, and you'll see that I bring the toolbar back over on the left hand side. When you do a new tool in Blender, and in the first moments of creating a new mesh, down here in the bottom left hand corner you'll see that you get the Add UV Sphere options, and these options will exist for anything. So if I go ahead and click over here and I add in a cylinder, you'll see that now the options over here in the bottom left hand corner change to reflect what tool you just did. The thing you need to watch out for is that once you start selecting other geometry or doing things, actually it doesn't look like it's affecting it too much. There we go. So you'll see that I can modify the cylinder even though I've selected other geometry. So that's pretty handy. But once I start getting into things like edit mode and grabbing it and moving it around, I can't get back to that panel. So you kind of have to make those decisions early on. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Shift A, and I'm going to add in that UV sphere, and I'm going to come down here to the bottom left-hand corner, and you can see some of the default settings for the sphere. It's got 32 segments and 16 rings. So the 32 segments are the divisions going up and down, vertical, and the rings are going horizontal. And I don't need this many segments, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that down a little bit, and you can see that it's getting box here, but I think that's going to be fine for the eyeball. We'll see. So I'm going to do 16 and 16. Okay, I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to scale this down so it's a little bit more eyeball size. And I'm going to go ahead, let me get rid of this toolbar over here. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. And the reason why I'm going to rotate it is you'll see is that I want to use the sphere's geometry to actually make the iris and the pupil of the eyeball. So I'm going to go ahead and to demonstrate this a little easier, I'll add in my materials first, then I'll rotate it. Okay, so I'm in edit mode. I'm going to come over here to the right hand side, choose my material panel over here. I'm going to add a new material. I'll call this eye white. Whoops. And I'm going to go ahead and make the diffuse a little bit brighter. Okay, and I'm going to hit assign. So something that you need to know is that when adding multiple materials, the basic processes are this. I'm now going to go in and select face mode, and I'm going to go ahead and select the faces that I want to make up the iris. And I could shift right click and select, go around selecting all of these, but if you recall, you can press Option and you can right click and it will select, it will do loop select. And so since I'm in face mode, it selects the entire loop of the iris there. And I think I'm going to go ahead and hold down Option, shift click, and right. And what that will do is it will add to the selection there. You can see it, unfortunately, sometimes happens. There we go. Okay, so I selected 2 loops, and to add the second loop I just held down the shift key because that adds to the selection. Okay, so now that I've got those there, now I'm going to come over here to my materials panel. I'm going to click the little plus symbol to add a new material slot. Click on the new button to add a new material. I'll name the new material Iris. I'll go ahead and choose a color that stands out. Maybe a blue, we'll do turquoise. Okay, and then you'll notice that you don't see anything happening, and that's because you have to do the last move, and that is assign. Once you do assign, it's assigned. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and select the pupil. I'm going to Option right click. Oops. Try that again. Okay, if it's not working for you, I'm going to box select and just box select the center here. Go ahead and add a new material slot, add a new material, call it pupil, make it black, and hit assign. Tab out of edit mode, and there we go. Now of course, if you don't like the material assignments, if you want to make the pupil a little bit bigger or whatever, you can go ahead and do that as well. Quick note, if you do decide you want to change some materials, so for instance, I'm going to go ahead and I want to make the pupil a little bit bigger to make this character a little cuter, possibly. I'm going to Option right click and select this loop here, and right now you can see that it is assigned to the iris color. I'm just going to go over here and oops. Let me zoom in on this. So over here, I'm just going to select pupil and then say assign, and you'll now see that these this loop cut has now been assigned those right there. So I'll press tab to get out, and yeah, I think that's better. Okay, one more thing, I'm going to rotate it. So I'm going to go into edit mode, select the whole eye. I'm going to rotate it on the x-axis. So I'll press R, X, 90, left click to accept, tab out of edit mode, and go ahead and place. So I'll do G to grab. Again, looking at all views, and here we go. Okay, so I've got it looking all right over here. I'm going to rotate it on the z-axis so I can have it rotate, a little bit outwards, not quite perfectly sideways outwards, but just a little bit, and it changes placement, something like that, and there we go. And last but not least, in this window, I'll press T to bring up the toolbar over here, and with the eye selected, I'll come over here to where it says shading, and I've got smooth and flat, and you can see that it's got a flat shaded, and you can see all the facets, which is really quite helpful for modeling. I'm going to choose smooth, and now you can see that it's all good. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to now go ahead and in top view, I'll go ahead and I'm going to do Shift D to duplicate the eye. I'll then press X to lock its movement to the x-axis. And now I've got the other eye on the other side, but you can see it's facing the wrong direction. You could try to rotate this. So you could press R and then Z, and then you could try rotating it around. You could type in 180 to do that. Whoops. So you could try to go ahead and rotate this around, but really what you want to do is you want the mirror tool. Rotation isn't going to work out for you as smoothly. So the mirror tool, and we've gone over this in class, is Control M. And when you do Control M, in the bottom left-hand corner, it's a little tough to see on my screen, but now it's going to say select a mirror axis, X, Y, or Z. And so if you don't know, you can just do trial and error. So let's say I press Y, and you'll see that I'm not getting what I want. I could now go ahead and try pressing Z, not getting what I want. I could press X, and that's that's maybe getting more of what I want. So I'll press X, and there we go. And there's the eye. I can go ahead and move it into place. And it's looking like I need to mirror flip it on the other side as well. He's looking backwards on one side, and so that's obviously not what I want. So I'll go ahead and flip it again. Okay, so to fix the eye, I'm just going to rotate it. So I'm going to press R, Z to lock the movement to the Z axis, and go ahead and rotate the eye manually there. There we go. I'm going to check in top view and just make sure that everything looks pretty nice and symmetrical. Let me rotate the eye a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so again, very cartoony, very simple, but it's not the best modeling, but it's good enough for now. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. The next couple things that you could add in is you could add in some teeth, you could add in a tongue, and go from there. To do teeth, real quickly, I would just go ahead and do Shift A. I would add in a mesh. I would say for a really simple one, you could maybe go ahead and do a I would probably go ahead and start off with a cube, scale it way down. I'm going to go ahead and do the lower teeth first. I'm going to take the cube and just scale it like this. I'll maybe go ahead and add in some more geometry. I'll go ahead and loop cut it, and I'll loop cut it in the middle here, and that way I can kind of scale it, just make it a little bit more, bulgy and rounded. I'll go ahead and add a new material. Make it a nice bright white. Scale it down a bit. Now I don't want to go with too much detail here because I don't want my game to lag if this was a game character. I'm going to maybe loop cut it one more time, and I'll bring that loop cut down here. And the reason for doing that is because I want to select this bottom face and bring that back in a little bit. Again, just to round this out a little bit more. So I'm just shaping. There we go. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I won't really know until I bring it up and in. Whoops. Okay, so it's real simple. We'll do something like that. And of course, you could go ahead and add in more geometry. But if this is looking All right, then there you go. And you have to think about how this is going to be seen. If it looks like that, I don't think you need any more geometry than what you've got. Okay, so to duplicate this and place it, what I would do is I would switch your attention to top view, and with your mouse pointer in top view I would press the letter Z, and what that does is it switches your view to wireframe, and now you can really kind of see everything. So I would go ahead and just maybe rotate it so it's actually aligned to the jaw, and I'll maybe go ahead and bring it out here to the front. I'll keep using my front view here to really just make sure I know what's going on, tweak some things. There we go. I'll use the side view to make sure that my teeth are not floating, that it's actually placed inside the jaw. There we go. And now that I've got that one in there, now what I can do is I can go ahead and I can just do Shift D to duplicate, and I'll go ahead and duplicate it and just rotate it a little bit as I go along the way. You can decide ultimately, what kind of dental hygiene this dinosaur has. So maybe there's a little, gap in there, lost a tooth, something like that. And I'm just going to kind of duplicate along the way. Again, you can add in a lot of character with just the teeth. You can scale them a little bit, so that way they're all different sizes. But don't just duplicate them and call it a day. Rotate them a little bit, scale them up a little bit. Maybe make his back teeth a little bit larger. Maybe these guys are coming out a little bit more, because the jaw is getting a little thicker at the end here. There we go. And just to finish up here. Okay, so you get the idea. I need to, of course, go ahead and continue and go further back. But I'm not going to bore you with that level of detail because it's quite repetitive, as you can see. Okay, so what I would do is once you're done with this one side here, to duplicate the other side is you would go ahead and you would then mirror it. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, finish this one side, and then I'll pick up where I left off. Okay, to finish this video up, you can see that I added in the rest of the teeth, and now I'm going to duplicate them and mirror flip them. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just selecting the teeth. If you accidentally select anything else, you can just shift right click and deselect it. So there we go. I think I've got all the teeth here. Just to double check, I'll go ahead and grab and move them. Press escape. Okay, so now that I've got them here, I need to do Shift D to duplicate them, X-axis to slide them over on the X-axis, and now I need to mirror flip them. So in my top view, I'm going to press Control M to mirror, and I'm going to try the X-axis. Yep, that's the right axis, and then I'll go ahead and move them into place. So of course they're an exact duplicate. They're a mirror flip of the other side. And to make it a little bit more natural, I'm going to get rid of the tooth gap on that side there. That way his lost tooth is truly unique. And let's see, last but not least, I'll go ahead and duplicate his front teeth just to complete it. Okay, so that's it. Now what you could do is for the upper jaw, or for the teeth, and again that's optional, but you could go ahead and you could select all of these, you could duplicate it, and then you could go ahead and mirror flip it and then bring them up into the upper jaw, and go ahead and do that. For the tongue, you could go ahead and do I would go ahead and model it in a very similar way to the teeth. Just model a cube, make it more rectangular, go ahead and loop cut it, tweak the shape of it a little bit, and you'll end up with a nice looking, kind of puffy little tongue that you can add in there. Okay, I apologize for the length of this video, but I hope it helped you out. Thanks, and good luck.